graph is given. Okay, so you have some weight association with every age. Something like this. Right? So there is a graph and there are weight association with each and every age. Single source means that from a source vertex, let us say A, find out the shortest path for all the other vertices. So when you are finding the shortest path from A to B, then again A to C, A to D, then this is called single source shortest path. Your source vertex is fixed. Similarly, when you have a case in which your source may be anything, but your destination vertex is fixed, right? So you want to find a path from all the other vertices other than B. B is your destination vertex. So find out the shortest path from A to B, C to B, and D to B. That is the second version, destination, single destination shortest path. The third is you will be given a pair of vertices. So you will be given a graph and then you will be given two vertex A and C. Your objective is to find out the shortest path between source, that is A, and destination, that is C. So that is the third version, single pair shortest path. And fourth version is all pair shortest path. That means for all the permutation, if this is an undirected graph, if it's a if this is an undirected graph, if it's a directed graph, then you have a direction. That means you have a path from A to B. Similarly, you can have a path from B to A, C to A. So just reverse of all of this. So find out the shortest path for all these combinations. That is called all pair shortest path. So this is, I'm discussing this because one of that version is there in the dynamic programming, that is in the next chapter. Right? So at that time you should able to recall that what is the difference between shortest path in greedy and shortest path in dynamic programming. The versions are different. Okay. However, there is one version, that is single source shortest path, which is there in both the case. So it is there in the, or it can be solved using greedy as well as using dynamic programming. So let us try to solve that using greedy approach. So I will use the same example which is there on the presentation. So go to the next slide. Next, 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 next. Yes. So basically you have some graph. There are 5 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The names are given as S, U, then V, X, and Y. The ages are 10, 1. Then you have 2 ages over here. This one is this one is 4. This is 6. Then you have 9, 2, 5, 7, 2, right? So this is the graph which is being given. Now, it's the same approach which we have discussed in Prim's algorithm. In fact, Prim's algorithm is a derivation of Dijkstra's algorithm. This is the algorithm which was given by Dijkstra, and it is based on greedy approach because at every instance we are checking one greedy choice property, and that choice property is the distance. So similar to the Prim's approach, initially you assume that you will be given one source vertex. So this is my source vertex. So I am supposed to find out the shortest path from S to U, S to B, S to X, and S to Y. So these are the four paths or shortest path I am supposed to find. So initially we assume that these vertices are disconnected. Disconnected means there doesn't exist any path between the source vertex and the every other destination vertex. Because they are disconnected, we say that distance are infinity. Right? So we will maintain again a queue. Initially, distance from source to source is always going to be 0 because we are actually referring to the same vertex. And then initially we assume that they are not connected or they are disconnected. So because they are disconnected, the distance is infinite. Everything will be pushed inside a queue. So now we are again maintaining a priority queue. Right? So same approach, we'll expect one vertex from this. So minimum will be expected. S will be expected. Then you will find out all the outgoing edges of S. Remember, now we are looking for the outgoing edges, not all the edges. Right? So how many outgoing edges? One is between S to U and second is between S to X. Then you relax that edge. Relaxing means that you will check the weight or distance at this destination. You will check the distance at source and you will check the weight between source and destination. So here the distance of source is 0, weight is 5. So if I consider this edge for shortest path, the distance at X will be 0 plus 5. Right now the distance is infinite, so I will make it to 5. So this will be changed to 5. Similar to what we have done in Prim's approach, we need to maintain the parent as well. So for every vertex, you are supposed to maintain parent as well. So let us say I'm writing over here. So parent of, let us write here. Initially all are disconnected, so parents are null. Now I am relaxing this edge, so that means my parent will be changed from for the X. X parent will be changed to S. And similarly, the value of or the distance of X will be changed to 5. Then other outgoing edges S to U. This is infinity right now. So whatever is this 0 plus 10, that will be 10. 10 and parent of U is S. Right? Second, is there any other outgoing edges? No. So that means my iteration of S are over. Now I am supposed to extract one more vertex. Again, it's a mean priority queue. So what will be expected? X. Right? Now check all the outgoing edges of X. Here it is. Right? So how many outgoing edges? One is this, and this, and this. So there are three outgoing edges. Let us first consider x to y. What is the distance of x? 5. What is the weight of xy? 2. So 5 plus 2 is 7 is less than infinity. So this will be changed to 7. This will be changed to x. Next stage is between x and b. Weight is 9. So x is 5. Weight is 9. So 5 plus 9, 14. Less than infinity. So 14, 14, and x. Next is x and u. 5, 3, 8. 8 is less than 10. So this will be changed to 8. This will be changed to 8. The parent of u will be changed to x. Right? So all three are over. Now next is 8, 4, 14 and 7. So y will be expected. Y. How many outgoing edges? 2. Right? So first is, let's say, y and s. Now, okay, here comes the another condition which was we have been checking in the first as well. We need to check whether the endpoint is in Q or not. S is there in the Q? No. So that means you will not be considering this age, right? Next, y and b. YB. What is the distance of y? 7. What is the YB weight? 6. 7 plus 6 is 13. 13 is less than 14. So that means this should be considered 13, 13, and parent of B is Y. Okay, so that's it. This will be as it is, no change. Then next, U. How many outgoing edges? 1, 2. Okay. 8 plus 1, 9. 9 is less than 13. Right? 9 is less than 13. So this will be changed to 9, 9, and U. Okay. Next is 8 plus 2, 10, 5. But you are not supposed to check this because x is not in the Q. Right? So it will be unchanged. So finally you will expect V because not any other vertex is in a Q, so there will be no change. Clear? So at the end, you have this with you, right? And that will help you to find out shortest path. Because if you want to find out the shortest path, basically our interest is in path between S to U, S to B, S to X, and S to y. In order to find out the path, you will start from the destination, right? So what is the parent of u? X. So you will write, let's say if you are writing a path, then you write destination first. Then what is the parent of u? X. What is the parent of x? S, which is your source. That means your path from S to U is S, X, and U. Similarly, you can find it for V, U, X, S. Right? Just then reverse calculate the actual path or the shortest path between two vertices. Right? So this is Dijkstra's algorithm to find out the shortest path. Go back to the previous slide. Okay. So let us quickly review this. First, we are passing three parameters. One is graph G. Second is W, that is a weight function, and third is S, that is source vertex. So here you can mention any vertex as a source vertex. Find them. It all depends on your application, what you are actually, because it's a single source shortest path. So what is your source vertex? That is to be given with the algorithm itself. So these are the three input parameters which we are passing to the algorithm. As we know, we need to maintain a distance for all the vertices, right? So you need one sort of distance as a data storage or the data structure. For maintaining the distance, we are using priority queue, and you need another data structure that is for maintaining the parent. So here you can use a simple list as well. You can use the simple array in which you will simply maintain the parent. So here it's like a key and value. So what is your node and what is its parent? So here you can have this two-dimensional array for maintaining the parent, but for maintaining the distance, you require a priority queue. Before we do anything, what we are doing, distance of S is equal to 0. What is S? Source vertex. We are saying that from source to source distance is 0. Then for each vertex V belongs to V of G. V of G means every vertex of graph. For every vertex of graph, we are saying distance of V is equal to infinity. And then we are inserting inside a cube. Right? So we are setting its distance as infinity. And then we are inserting inside a cube. There is an error in line number 1, 2, and 3, and 4. What is that error? Logical error. There is a contradiction. If something is wrong, which is being done over there, what is that? Yes, online student, you can also give me the answer. So you are setting distance of S as what? 0. And then you are running a for loop in which you are again setting the distance as infinity for all the vertex. S is also one of that vertex. So again you are setting the distance of S as infinity, which is wrong. So your for loop should set the distance for all the vertex except S. So it should be V of G minus S. Right, so that should be the correction. So V of G minus S should be there. So that is the correction which is required. Okay, so that was about first for loop. Then you have a second for loop. What we are doing for each adjacency vertex V belongs to adjacency list of S. We are checking or updating the weight, sorry, distance S, weight of ST, and then we are updating the Q. What we are doing? Or is it required? If yes, then why it is required? And if I want to remove that loop, what are the adjustments which are required to be made in the above program algorithm? Why it is required? If you see the our iteration, what we have considered, we have inserted everything inside a queue, including this S. And then we have learned the simple loop while queue is not empty. That means your line number this, right? In our iteration of this particular graph, we don't have something like, we haven't discussed this. Why it is not required? Because we are inserting S also inside the queue with key value as 0. When you are going for this implementation, you are not inserting S inside the queue. That means all the adjacent vertex of S is to be relaxed outside the while loop. Right? That is what we are doing over here. So if I want to change this or simplify this algorithm, then what I should write? Right? I will simply write for each vertex belongs to V of G if V equal to S, if my vertex is a source vertex, then I will say distance of S is 0, else, sorry, distance of V is 0, else distance of V is infinity. Then I will insert V. So I can replace this line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with this line. That will actually reduce one for loop, right? So see, the reason I am discussing this is because it's all logical. It's how you understand it, in it how you put it into your pseudocode. So this is pseudocode. In one approach, we are saying that we will not insert source into the queue like this. In another approach, we are saying that we will insert everything, but we'll make sure that the distance of source is 0 before inserting it. Because then again, that loop, while loop will take care of it. Because ultimately, it's going to extract the vertex with the minimum distance, right? So this is the approach which we have actually followed on the board. This is another approach which you will find in the many of the literature. That's why I've written over here. Okay. Fine. So that loop line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, in which we are actually doing the same thing. We are simplifying or we are relaxing the edges of the source vertex, or we are, because all the distance are infinity, we don't need to check what is the current wave distance of another vertex P, because all are infinity, so that means this is always going to be updated. So here we are not checking for this, right? This is the check which we are not checking here, because we know that distance is always infinity for every other vertex. So you don't require to check it, you simply just replace it. Okay. Next, while Q is not empty, extract minimum vertex from Q and You are making another set. This S is equal to S union V means this is your solution. And this is the solve. That means Q में से निकाल के आप बाहर डाल दो. Something similar to that. So for each X belongs to adjacency list of V. मतलब जो वर्टेक्स आपने अभी बाहर निकाला है उसके हर एक adjacency vertex. Now this is a directed graph. In case of directed graph, you have to consider only the outgoing edges, right? If X belongs to V minus S, now what is V? Set of vertex. What is S? No, capital S. Solution set. So one is your problem set, another is your solution set. You are taking a difference of it. Problem set minus solution set. That means you are actually making sure that your resultant vertex or other vertex is not part of your solution set. अगर वो solve नहीं हुई है तो ही आप आगे जाओ. Similarly, we are doing over here. We are checking whether that vertex is not part of Q. जो Q का part है उसका मतलब ही है कि that is not being solved. If it is not a part of Q, it means that it is being solved. So that is being done over here in different manner. We are maintaining a solution set, and then we are checking whether X belongs to that set or not. If X is not a part of solution, then you will simply check this distance of X is greater than distance of V plus XV. Sorry, weight between Vx. If that is true, then change the distance, change the parent, and update the distance in the Q. So that is what we have been doing. Is that clear? So the time complexity, first for loop. We are inserting inside a Q, right? And the time complexity for inserting inside a Q, here it is considered as big of n. So that's why if you are inserting n vertices, then the time complexity is n square, because n times you are doing n. This is n square. This is what is the worst case? Means how many times this loop can run maximum? Number of edges. Because in worst case, your source vertex is connected to every other vertex. There is a direct path from the source vertex to every other vertex. That means every edge is actually connected to source vertex. That's why this loop can run maximum e times. E is your number of edges. E time you are performing V operation. That's why the time complexity for this loop is big of VE. Here it is big of V square, because we are doing V times V. V square E times V. VE. Then this while loop. What is there inside a Q? Q में क्या है? Vertex. That means how many times this is going to run? V times. V times. Then see what we are doing. At the max we are doing the extend mean or update. That is also V. So V. So that will be around V square. So this will be around V square. This is V square. This is V. The highest number is V square. That's why time complexity is V square. Okay. See, time complexity is an estimate. Remember, you will never get the accurate numbers for time complexity. Our objective is find out the worst case scenario for any loop. Find out how many times that loop is going to be executed, and then based on that, you have to simply say that whether the time complexity is order of n, order of n square, order of n cube, what it should be or what it can be. Is that clear? Any doubt? Okay. So go to next. Fine. So this is all about all the algorithms which we are supposed to discuss for greedy. So with this, we complete our chapter on greedy algorithms. Uh, Go to the first slide. So let us quickly recap what we have discussed. So basically, greedy is the simplest algorithm technique, designing technique, which only makes the use of the current state of the system, or current state, or current what you can say, the whenever it's going to make the change choices, it always consider that what choice looks best at this moment. Based on that current state of the system, it will make a choice, and that's why it's the simplest approach in any of the designing technique. Due to its simplicity, it it is not necessary that it is not going to give you the optimum result. It may give you optimum result, but there is no guarantee of optimum result at every time. So that's why greedy, it seems to be, it gives you the near optimal solution rather than real optimal solution. So that is uh, the generic method of greedy. In any of the greedy technique, what we do is we have basically two functions. One function is for checking the feasibility, another function is checking for the optimality. So whether the solution which you are picking is feasible or not, that should be checked first, and then you require to check whether it's an optimum or not based on the current state of the system. So any of the algorithm you consider, if you consider the knapsack problem, in knapsack problem what we are doing, we are finding the value density, that means a value per weight unit of item. You are sorting the items on the value density. Go to the knapsack problem. Next. Next. Okay. So we are sorting the items on the value density. We'll start picking an item from the highest value density, because that will give us a guarantee of maximum value per weight unit. So ultimately you will keep on doing this till your knapsack is full. So that is what we will be doing in greedy approach. Knapsack problem. Remember, this can only work if your problem is a version that is fractional knapsack. If the problem is 0-1 knapsack, 0-1 knapsack means that either you can pick an entire item or you have to skip that entire item. Whereas in case of fractional knapsack, you can pick an item in fraction as well. Just like we have discussed that gold biscuit and gold dust. Gold dust can be picked up as on when it is required, or whatever is the volume or the weight remaining, you can pick that many gram of gold dust. Whereas if you want to pick the biscuit, then you have to pick 10 grams whole, or you have to skip that 10 grams if you don't want, there is no capacity in knapsack. So that is what, and this version, basically the greedy version, only works with fractional knapsack. It will not work with 0-1 knapsack. Mind me. Next. Then we have discussed two problems related to activity selection. First one was the problem statement is to find out the mutually compatible activity. In this case, basically each activity is having some start time and finish time or end time. You have to select an activity such that no two activities clashes. So start time of one activity has to be greater than finish time of other activity. Solution to this was you will sort the activity on its finish time, and then you start picking up the item if it is not clashing with the previous item. So if you check the algorithm, this is what we are doing. So you have to sort the activities on its finish time. That is the greedy choice property here. And then you will start picking an item if that item is not clashing with the previous case. So if you see that graph, then you will get the idea that while selecting A1, there was no choice. So A1 can be always picked. When you are going for A2, sorry, the next in the sequence was A3, because A3 was having a lesser finish time. So At the time of picking up A3, you have to check whether A1 is finished or not, because A1 is the currently executing activity. That can be checked by checking the finish time of A1 against the start time of A3. If the start time of A3 is greater than finish time of A1, then you can say that A3 can be picked. Next in the sequence is A2. A2 cannot be picked because start time of A2 is less than finish time of A3. Right? A3 finishes at 4 and A2 starts at 2. So that means 2 is less than 4. That means start time is less than the finish time of other activity. So A2 cannot be picked. So this is the second problem statement. Another version of it which we have discussed was job sequencing with deadline. Next. Yes. Now in this case, we discussed that instead of start time and finish time, here you have been given a profit and deadline. So you will be having an association of profit and association of deadline with every job. However, each job can be finished in single time unit. So now objective is to schedule job in such a way so that profit can be maximized. So the solution was, first you will sort the job in order of its profit, means highest profit will be considered first, and then you will schedule it in the best possible slot. The best possible slot is the last slot, because if you schedule that in the last slot, then all the previous slots can be used or utilized by the subsequent jobs. If that last slot is not available, then you will go back to the previous last and you will come till the first slot and you will try to schedule it. If any slot is not available, then you have to skip that particular job. So this was job sequencing with deadline. And I think we have discussed Huffman coding. Okay, this is an encoding problem. You will be given some series of characters. You have to count the frequencies. Then based on the frequency, you are supposed to build the Huffman tree. Next. Right? So while building the Huffman tree, what we are doing, we are extracting again. We are using, I think, priority queue. Again, here you are using the priority queue. And to do that, you will insert the frequency of every letter in the queue. You will extract to minimum. You will create an intermediate node like this, and then at the end you will have some tree similar to this. Go to next. Next. So this is our iteration of Huffman coding. Initially you have been given the frequency of each letter. F is 5, E is 9. Frequency means how many times that letter is repeated. So frequency is given. Initially you will pick F and E because F and E are the minimum. So 5 and 9, 14. So new intermediate node is created. That will be again inserted inside a queue. So you are extracting 2 items, inserting 1 items in every iteration. You will repeat this till your queue is empty. So at the end, you will have that particular tree. Then you have to label 0 on the left, 1 on the right, or 1 on the left and 0 on the right, and then you can simply find out the code by traversing from root node to the leaf node. So this is Huffman coding. Next. Back. Then we have discussed minimum spanning tree and shortest path. So minimum spanning tree, there are 2 algorithms, Kruskal's approach. Kruskal's approach is you have to sort all the edges in ascending order, then check 2 endpoints of every edge. If they belongs to the same set, then you skip it. If they belongs to different set, then you consider that edge as a part of your minimum spanning tree. Prim's approach is slightly different. It is based on the distance short of an approach, which is actually discussed just now, Dijkstra's approach. So Prim's algorithm is based on that. Instead of distance in Dijkstra, we are maintaining something similar to key. Otherwise, that queue, extraction, and relaxation all are same in both the algorithms. Right? So this is all about greedy algorithms. Go to the last slide. Okay. So in summary, we can say that greedy means literally it means that local optimum. This is a Greek word, and it is derived from that only, which turns out to be local optimum. Local optimum means that you have to pick a choice which looks based at a moment. At a moment means it's a local choice you are making. It's a straightforward approach. You select the best or local optimum solution and hope that, again, the word is hope. There is no guarantee. Hope that it leads to the global optimal solution. Most of the time, greedy is applied to the optimization problem. So whatever problem which we have discussed, all are optimization problem. Knapsack problem, optimization problem. We want to maximize profit. Shortest path, optimization. We want to minimize the distance. Minimum spanning tree, optimization. We want to minimize the total cost. Huffman coding, again optimization, because you want to minimize the length of the code. Then activity selection, optimization problem, because you want to maximize the number of activity. And job sequencing with deadline, optimization problem, we want to maximize the profit. So all of these are called an optimization problem. We want to optimize some property, something. Optimize means either minimize or maximize. But in order to solve any problem using greedy algorithm, you have to have two choices or two properties. That first is greedy choice property and second is optimal substructure property. And it always gives you the near optimal solution. There is no guarantee of real optimal solution. Okay, so that's all about greedy. Anything which you want to ask from greedy? Yes, online student, you can also ask me. Okay, so in that case, I am stopping the session.